The Joe Mays and J-Raff Show is brought to you in part by Mays Sandwich Shop, serving delicious hometown favorites to the West Lawn community since 1947. You are listening to the Joe Mays and J-Raff Show, bringing you the latest news and commentary on baseball.
The 0-2 pitch, swing and a miss, struck him out. The Philadelphia Phillies are 2008 World Champions of Baseball.
Hockey.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Flyers are going to win the Stanley Cup. The Flyers win the Stanley Cup.
College football.
The Big Ten championship lies on a measurement.
Did he get it? No! He didn't get it! Penn State holds!
They brought back the fun, they brought back the excitement, and now they've brought back a Big Ten championship. The Penn State Nittany Lions are Big Ten champions.
And the NFL.
He's in! Patriots win the Super Bowl! Brady has his fifth! What a comeback!
Now, here are your hosts, Joe Mays and Justin Raffoff.
Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the 247th episode of the Joe Mays and J-Raff Show. I am one of your hosts, Joe Mays, and sitting next to me, my co-host, Justin Raffoff.
Yeah, it's good to be back. I know I kind of threw a wrinkle in the schedule, the last couple of weeks, but that's okay. Had some important things to talk about, but have some, I guess, kind of important, but fun stuff to talk about tonight.
I don't know, how important it really is right now. We're getting to that point where it becomes really important. Of course,
yes.
If you don't win the first 8 or 9 weeks of the season, what does it really matter?
Yeah, it kind of makes the second half not as important, I guess. Right?
Not interesting whatsoever. But we are here finally, once again, talking NFL. And like Justin said, we were gone now. It's been 3 weeks since our last show. The last 2 weeks we had the Bulldog Hour, our high school show in West Lawn, based on the high school in West Lawn, Pennsylvania, which has been a lot of fun. They're in the playoffs now. Got a win this past week, so they're in the semifinals. They win this Friday. They go to the championship, but it's a tough road to get there.
Yeah, tall task this Friday night, in the rematch with Anaheim Township. So we'll kind of see how that plays out. But that's a different story for a different show. I know we talk about it here, but yeah, tall task. We'll have to see how that goes. So, good luck to the Bulldogs, and we'll have a show on our other show, kind of to fill you in on how that goes.
Yeah. So, it's funny, we have this show here this week, and coincidentally, Eagles aren't playing, but it doesn't mean that interesting stuff hasn't happened for the Eagles because, well, a lot happened in the NFC East.
Yeah, it was all good for the Eagles today.
That really has helped the Eagles out. So we're going to dive right into Week 10 of the 2017 NFL season.
Hard to believe.
Past the halfway point,
yeah.
If you can believe that.
Yeah,
that we're already.
And most of the teams have had their bye already. So, yeah, I think there's still a few teams that have their byes next week, possibly.
Yes, there are 4 actually. Because I was looking.
I saw
before
3,
the show started,
but I couldn't find the 4th. But yes, I'm sure there are. But I kind of like it when the byes are over and we kind of get the fuller slate of NFL games. That's just maybe a personal thing, but I like it when there's more than 2.
There was only 3 late games today.
The other week there was only 2. And I know they've talked about that a little bit with the ratings idea. We don't go into that a whole lot because there's a lot of different arms to that, discussion. But I think, I think that's an undervalued kind of thing. There used to be a ton of games. Essentially, there used to be the 14 games were on Sundays. Now I know you have byes, but you'd have 14 games, and then you'd have a Sunday night and a Monday night, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, now you have a Thursday, and you have some weeks you have a London game, so you have a 9 or 9:30 game on Sunday. Then you have a Monday night game. You have a Sunday night. So you're getting fewer games. So, and they try to put like big games, like they put a lot of divisional games and big games on the Thursday night. They try to put big games, on some of the Sunday night games. So like you lose some of that, those matchups. And we've talked about this a lot. Like we've seen some close games, but doesn't necessarily mean it's good.
Right, exactly.
And we saw some more of that today, which we'll touch on when we get to those games.
All right, so let's start with the Thursday night game here. Seahawks, Cardinals in Arizona.
Speaking of close, but not necessarily good.
Definitely. But Seattle needed this one because they were coming off a loss. A little bit of a surprise last week, I think, to see Seattle lose.
At home to Washington, right?
Yeah. And that one caught people off guard.
Right.
And then a short week, they got to play a division opponent, albeit one that's struggling.
And without their quarterback now.
Yeah, you're right. And this one was closer than I think a lot of people thought, but the end result was the same.
I think
the Seattle victory.
I think the Cardinals scored a touchdown like really close to the end. So
Okay.
like, I don't think it was quite as close. I say that because I think I heard that, but I do not see the end of these Thursday night games. Like,
Oh, no.
I'm lucky to see halftime of these Thursday night games.
I'm lucky if I see half of a quarter of these Thursday night games.
How things have changed. I remember like primetime football games used to be my favorite thing. Like, and I loved it when the Eagles played them, and I enjoy it like when whoever's playing. And I don't want to say it's not the case. Like, I still enjoy that there's games on in primetime, but like, yeah, I'm not staying up to watch. Too old for that.
The primetime games are not my favorite anymore. Like, the Dolphins are
I
at
usually
the end
wake
of
up
now.
in the middle of the night and check the score. Like, not like to wake the score. I just happen to wake up. But
Miami's at the end of a 3-week period where every single
Right.
game I could have watched. I haven't watched a single minute of them. I see more of them when they're on Red Zone than I do when they're on primetime and I can watch the whole game because I'm not staying up Thursday, Sunday, or Monday night to watch them.
And
It's
I
just
think
not happening.
I say this, I don't want to obviously jinx this, but I feel like the Eagles are about to maybe get into some of those spots where I know they have some coming up, but they may get a few more based on performance and significance of games coming up in the second half of the season. So we'll have to wait and see how that goes.
So the biggest takeaways besides the Seahawks' victory over the Cardinals Thursday night were two injury things. One, Richard Sherman, torn Achilles, out for the rest of the year. And two, what happened with Russell Wilson and the concussion protocol. Because, well, I mean, I think it's already come out that it wasn't handled properly.
Right.
So now what's the NFL going to do about it?
Yeah, it certainly did not seem as though protocol was followed. The Seahawks, it's interesting. They kind of get in a lot of these like ones where it's kind of like they're in trouble, and they do something that's bad, but then it's not so bad. You know what I mean? Like, they're kind of in that, like, oh, the organization gets fined, the coach gets fined, but like they kind of go back. But we'll have to see how that.
Couple comments here. One, I got a text a couple minutes ago. Touchdown Patriots. I'm sure we know who that was from.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And now here on the live feed, we got a Fly Eagles Fly all the way from Haiti.
All right.
So it's nice to know that while people are out there doing good, they can take some time to watch this super important show ours that we have.
That's right, international show.
Yeah, we when I go to the sponsors for the next round of payments, you're gonna have to let you know, like, hey, we got a pretty big following in Haiti every so often.
Yeah, we have an international audience now, so.
So let's open up that checkbook a little bit. So I mean, I don't. Other than the injury issues surrounding the game,
Big win for the Seahawks because they needed to keep pace.
Divisional win, conference win, get back in the winning column, on the road, 6-3. They now are they're still in the NFC hunt.
Right, and we'll get to some other games as to why that's so important. That they got to 6-3. Big difference between 6-3 and 5-4 right now when you look at the standings.
Right. So staying in the NFC, Packers, Bears, and a lot of this, people were jumping on Chicago in this one just because Green Bay hasn't looked good with Hundley at quarterback.
Including me. I did it.
I did as well. And, we were proven wrong today. He had one really nice throw, one touchdown.
Thanks in part to John Fox,
yeah,
who challenged his own play. They would have had first and goal. So, like, I understand you want to challenge, but they talk all the time in the NFL about how, like, you have to think about when
don't
would
take
use
points
your
off
challenge.
the board, don't lose possession.
Right. But so he challenged so that they would have had first and goal at like the 3-yard line. First and goal at the 3. He challenges thinking it should have been touchdown. And then you look at what happens, and he actually did fumble. At first I thought it was ridiculous. I was like, the ball's still in his hand. But when they finally showed like the cross field, like down the goal line angle kind of, you could see he didn't have control of the ball. It hit the pylon. It was out of bounds. And it's a touchback, and the Packers got the ball. So instead of taking, let's say, a minimum of 3 points off the board, possibly a touchdown, they turned the ball over to the Packers. Yeah, just if that's not the Bears and John Fox's tenure with the Bears summed up in one,
it's been a rough
5-minute segment, that pretty much is it.
Absolutely. And, good for Green Bay keeping pace. I think before the last 2 games of Week 10 are played, the one going on right now between Denver and New England, which really has no impact on the NFC game or NFC standings, and then tomorrow night's Miami-Carolina, small impact there, because even though if Carolina loses, I think they maintain in the 6th spot in the NFC. They're one of the teams that will be on a bye next week. So next week's byes are the Jets and Colts and the Panthers and 49ers. Not a lot of talent on bye next week other than the Panthers.
Carolina could be significant there, but they're the only team really in a spot there that is going to have significant, like that team, playoff implications down the stretch. So obviously, they'll have games. All those teams will have games that could influence it, but Carolina
right now, Green Bay is one of 4 teams that are 5-4, but they're third out of those 4 teams, and they're still a game and a half behind.
Right, and
or they could be a game and a half behind the Panthers.
And based on these rankings, so I'm guessing this takes into account
head-to-head and conference tiebreaker.
They're third in their division right now. So
right. Yeah, that's probably the bigger one. Minnesota at 7-2, Detroit tied with them at 5-4, but Detroit beat them once already.
Right. So, and Detroit beat them in Green Bay. I think that was last week. So, because it was the first time
couple weeks,
Detroit had won there, since Brett Favre or something like that, or the start before Brett Favre or something like that, and so. You go back, so they'll have to play the Lions again, play the Lions in Detroit. That'll be tough.
All right, well, let's go to Detroit now, where the Lions hosted the winless Browns, and the Lions were able to keep them that way with a strong surprise, fourth quarter from the Lions.
And I think Deshaun Kaiser got hurt in this game.
He did, yes.
Otherwise, this could have been the one for the Browns. It's hard to say because the Lions, they're going to put up a fight in the fourth quarter. Like every game, they're going to do it. But, yeah, they jumped out 10-0 just like that. It was kind of crazy.
The Lions are an interesting team. I know they can't get out of their own way sometimes, and some people think that they maybe should have another win because that weird one against Atlanta about a month or so ago. But if they get to the playoffs, I wouldn't want to play them.
No.
That's not a team I'd want to see in the playoffs.
I used to think Matt Stafford, I don't know. I didn't really like him. I wasn't a big Matt
Stafford
fan.
I thought he was overrated.
It's not that I'm a huge Matt Stafford fan now, but I just think he's probably better than I gave him credit for a little while. And they have some pieces. Yeah, I think the Lions are a scary team. Just that when they're clicking, they're pretty good.
Yeah, and they're on the outside looking in, like we mentioned. They would be 8 out of the 16 teams, and the top 6 make it. So they're fighting with, right now, Seattle and Carolina for the wild card spots. They're 2 back of the Vikings. So, obviously there's still, 6 games left for a lot. Most teams have 6 games left, or 7 games. Most teams have 7 games left. So obviously not out of it. We've seen Minnesota collapse before. But the Vikings are playing some pretty good football. Detroit is probably looking to...
It's crazy that Minnesota has done this without Sam Bradford / their starting quarterback.
Right.
And without Dalvin Cook. It's nuts. But the defense has been good. It'll be interesting to see. Like you said, they've had some of these seasons lately where they've kind of collapsed, but they don't really show any signs of that this year.
The Browns are 0-9 and the
And-
only winless team left.
Not spoiler alert.
Yeah.
But the Browns now control their own destiny
That's
to
right.
the number 1 pick.
And they're used to that, I think.
Hashtag come back Saquon. Like,
Yeah. I honestly, as much as I want it to happen, I don't think any way a running back's going number 1 overall.
I don't think there is either.
I mean, unless they really are high on DeShone Kizer, who they've already benched like twice.
And they're probably going to fire their coach this
Right,
year.
and then they're going to want to start all over anyways.
Right.
Again, it's an 18-month cycle.
Right.
So,
He's not going to the Browns. I sure hope not. And I think the Browns, like, if you're the Browns, you don't necessarily want a running back either. Like, they have so many needs, you know. I don't even know what they should do. The Browns, I have no idea what they should do. They're 0-9. It's getting ugly.
It definitely is. So the Steelers and Colts had a showdown today where Indianapolis was able to do what Indianapolis has done most of the year, and that's find a way to lose.
Yeah. Clutch. Snatch defeat from the jaws of victory.
Yep, snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. That is the Colts in 2017. I found it interesting that people are starting to come up with ideas that there could be class action lawsuits against the Colts for knowing that Andrew Luck wasn't going to play this year, but kind of make it sound like he would be back.
All right.
We'll see how that pans out.
Right.
But Pittsburgh does what they usually do, is play down to an opponent.
Yes. But Pittsburgh, who is in first place in the AFC as of right now.
Correct.
You know, so I know a certain someone that I am a lot close to, is looking, and she's like, oh my gosh, the Steelers they're gonna blow it again. You know, they're gonna lose. I'm like, there's no way they lose this game. They'll win this game. And she's like, you don't know that. I'm like, yes, I do. And we talk about this on the show all the time. We see this. This year, I feel like we see it a lot more, but this is the Steelers. You know, they'll probably lose another game here somewhere along the line, but then they're probably gonna hit a stride and win another like 5 in a row and be the 1 seed in the AFC. And like,
it'd be interesting to see everything go through.
Maybe
Pittsburgh.
not, but like you look at it, I'll tell you what. Juju Smith-Schuster, he looks incredible. Like, he looks like the real deal, and to put him on the opposite side of Antonio Brown.
Yeah, that's dangerous.
Yeah.
And if they ever decide to get the ball to Le'Veon Bell.
Right. Which, yeah, Steelers are an interesting thing. Like, a couple breakdowns in coverage today was kind of crazy. Big play here. Huge play here. Was on the blocked extra point. So the Steelers scored a touchdown, had an extra point blocked. And this was when it would have made it was going to make it 17-10 Colts, but it ended up being 17-9. Colts player catches it in the air, the block, and runs it, and got caught by Jesse James.
Ah, nice.
Like, not like showboating caught. Like, he was just, running, trying, and he had to, like, run around some people, and Jesse James caught him and tackled him at the 2-yard line. That's
huge.
Right, because that would have been a 2-point conversion. Now, they lost by 3, but just that hustle play. And I guess somebody posted an article. They asked Jesse James about, like, a hustle play a couple weeks ago that he had made. And, like, they said it was basically, like, if you read the article, it's, like, foreshadowing
That's awesome.
that play. Yeah, so kind of shout out the Penn Stater there. Not exactly how they expect him to make the play, but, hey, that goes a long way. And I feel like we've seen it was a different dome in the Midwest. It was in Detroit. But actually, it was in Indianapolis. It was in Indianapolis in the AFC Championship game in 2006 when they when Bettis fumbled and they were running it back. And,
Roethlisberger?
Yep, and he
midfield.
tripped him up. Yep.
I just got another
I'm not
text.
bitter over that one.
I just got another text as the score updates in front of us that the Patriots return the kickoff for a touchdown. They
Good.
go up 14-3 on the Broncos. So they actually just showed, leading up to this Sunday night game, Patriots-Broncos, and linked to the Jesse James play, they showed, I don't know if you saw this recently, a game from, 5+ years ago, I believe, in Denver, where Tom Brady threw an interception in the end zone right at the goal line, picked off by Champ Bailey, and he returns it for 99 yards, but Ben Watson out of nowhere jacks him up at the 1. They're like sprinting to save the play, and he ended up. Now I don't know if they scored on like the next play,
Right.
but he leveled Champ Bailey, like absolutely destroyed him. I do not remember this play at all.
I don't either.
But when they showed it, I was like, that is an incredible play by Ben Watson, who I believe is playing for the Ravens right now.
I love when you see those hustle plays. You know, like it's just, I don't know,
Well,
it sets the tone, and it, you know, you need guys, and you need all the guys to be willing to make those plays. Not everybody's going to be in a position to actually do it, but you need guys. That needs to be the attitude of everyone on the team. You know?
Well, and I know, I'm sure if my dad's watching, he probably would be yelling at the screen right now. I'm surprised he's not texting me that actually my cousin Todd had a play like that against Reading in the game in 2000 where Wilson was getting absolutely destroyed in the first half. My sophomore year, Todd's senior year, where I think Reading was about to return the third quarter kickoff for a touchdown. Todd pushed him out of bounds at like inside the 5, like 2, 3, 4, something like that. So Reading's getting ready to set up for an easy touchdown to stretch their lead even bigger. They fumbled them the next play.
Oh my gosh.
Or if it wasn't the next play, it was that series. Like
Right.
They didn't score. So they didn't score on the kickoff because Todd tackled the guy or pushed him out of bounds, and then they fumbled on that series.
Hey, whatever works, right? Whatever works. You got it.
Well, you never know. That's like, it's so cliche in coach speak, but it's completely true. You never know what play will change the game.
Right. Yeah. So, you know, it was a great play. And, you know, I think the only surprise here is that it came down and the Steelers didn't hold the lead until the clocks hit all zeros.
My dad is watching. He just said it changed the whole game around.
Hey,
and,
yep.
and we know how it ended. Wilson won that game.
Yeah, it came back. Greatest comeback I saw.
And because of it, they shared the LL Section 1 title with Cedar Crest and Reading. And because of tiebreakers, Cedar Crest didn't even make the playoffs that year.
Right.
Probably explains why they beat us 21-0 the next year.
With
at
a few
Gursky.
Division I athletes
Yeah,
on that
Jaron
Cedar Crest
Hayes,
team.
Brandon Kirsch. And, you know,
Yeah.
it's crazy how that one play can change a game, change a season. So another kind of crazy game where it wasn't a great
This was
game, but it was
absolutely
very
a crazy game.
entertaining, was the LA Chargers at Jacksonville. The Jaguars, probably a bit of a surprise this year for many. We thought we could see this last year. It didn't happen. Well, here they are this year. They are in the race in the AFC South, so they needed this game. Chargers, an average team, not a pushover, but definitely not a team you want to get caught looking
feel like
past.
This is another year already. We said just over halfway. You look at the Chargers. Some of the losses they've had this year. Just got to be thinking. You've got to be kidding.
Well, they lost in week 2 to the Dolphins
missed kick
because of missed field goals.
Right.
We know now today they lost to the Jaguars in overtime.
On
the
a
Jaguars
blocked kick.
and
On
the
a blocked
Jaguars,
kick.
right? Yeah, it was blocked. It still went through. And the Jaguars were using I shouldn't even call him a backup long snapper because you don't have backup long snappers because you're paying a guy hundreds of thousands of dollars to snap the ball. He got injured.
Right. You just start asking people,
Hey, have any of you long snapped before?
Right. And usually at the NFL level, they're all such
Someone
good
has,
athletes.
yeah.
Someone has.
Right.
You might be a special teams guy, or somebody's going to say, "Yeah, I can," because they're like, "Sweet, like this is my job security for another week."
Yeah.
On the other hand, if you screw it
Screw it up, you're probably getting cut. But the Jaguars made both of those field goals and won today 20-17 in overtime over the Chargers. They improved to 6-3 and are in the hunt. They'd actually be in the playoffs if they started today, whereas the Chargers dropped to 3-6. But Jacksonville
and it's tied for their division lead.
Tied for the lead with the Titans at 6-3. Tennessee has the tiebreaker with them right now. But we'll see how that changes. 'Cause didn't Jacksonville beat the crap out of Tennessee in the head-to-head?
Well, I know they beat them. Jacksonville beat Houston really bad. I thought Tennessee came back and beat Jacksonville in week 2.
Okay, I might be confusing the AFC South games.
I don't know. Yeah.
But, yeah, you mentioned the Chargers' defeats are just
they've just had a bunch.
Tough to swallow.
In Jacksonville, remember a couple weeks ago when we looked at it, we were like, man, they could go 11-5. But this was one of the games where
we're
we're like,
Tennessee beat up on Jacksonville. Jacksonville beat up in Houston.
This is one of those, and then Jacksonville just crushed.
How bad does that loss to the Jets look, though? Right now?
Yeah. But like, look at their schedule. So where are they at? They're 6-3 right now, and we pointed. They beat Cincinnati.
We talked to them after they killed Indianapolis, right?
Right.
We talked about them there, and we said that they should win. Now They play Cleveland, Arizona on the road, host Indy, Seattle, Houston, go to San Francisco and Tennessee. The only 2 games that they should lose, and not even, I shouldn't say could lose, should be Seattle and Tennessee.
Right. So I look at Seattle and I'm like, I don't know how this Jacksonville team scores against Seattle, which their defense isn't what it has been, and they have some injuries. I get that, but I still, look what San Diego did to them today. But then I'm like, how is Seattle going to score against Jacksonville? Like, Seattle's offense is not good, and Jacksonville's defense is good.
And Jacksonville's defense could put up points. Their defense special teams.
That's what they did today.
Yeah.
So
it'll be interesting because Jacksonville, we said 6-3, they could easily be an 11-5 team.
Yeah.
At 11-5, they're going to be right there with the Titans. The only reason 11-5 may not win the division is because Tennessee could end up having the tiebreaker with them.
How cool would it be if that Week 17 Jacksonville-Tennessee game
determines the number 2 seed?
Right, and it's the AFC South champion. It's basically the playoffs start a week early, except if they do well enough, it wouldn't be a loser go home, but could be loser gets a bye, winner gets a bye, loser goes on the road the next week as a wild card team, somewhere. But
yeah, see, the problem for Tennessee is they go to Pittsburgh this week.
Yeah, on Thursday.
Yeah. Thursday night. And they also have the Rams the week before.
Oh, you're right.
So, actually, I would favor Jacksonville to win that division right now.
You have to, based on the schedules.
Because Jacksonville already beat Pittsburgh. They already lost to the Rams. And then that week. So, it really could come down to that because if Jacksonville wins out or even would lose to Seattle, Tennessee, say they lose to Pittsburgh, and to the Rams, they could still win the division by beating Jacksonville.
Because they would tie them, and then they'd have the tiebreaker.
They would then beat Jacksonville.
Man, I'm hoping for that.
Oh, man, that would be fun. That would be a lot of fun.
That's what I'm rooting for.
To have Tennessee and Jacksonville be relevant on New Year's Eve, hey,
That's
I'm
good
all
for the
that.
NFL,
Yeah, it's
right?
good. It is to get these other teams that haven't been great over the last few years back in the thick of things and have both of them make it would be super, super cool. Now, we've been talking over the last few weeks about how the AFC East is still in line to have at least 2, if not 3 teams make it. Right now, the Dolphins are on the outside looking in, but if they win Monday night, they'd be tied with Buffalo at 5-4, and the Bills got there today by not showing up against the Saints.
Wow. So
I
picked the Saints to win.
So did I.
But I did not see this coming.
47-10.
And it wasn't. Like Drew Brees completed some passes, but they
gave up almost 300 yards rushing
over them.
It's like the third most rushing yards in Saints history.
Yeah, it's embarrassing. It was embarrassing.
So I don't know what happened to Buffalo there. Maybe Adam can tell me because he picked Buffalo to win.
So this is one of the crazy things where, like, this is a different Saints team. Like, when was the last time you saw a Saints team with 300 yards rushing?
Right.
I know that's a crazy question because teams don't rush for 300 yards all that often. But, like, they have Drew Brees and they have some outside threats. But they also are able to run the ball. They've got a couple different weapons, different
Mark Ingram and Alvin Kamara.
And the defense is not the embarrassment, the historically bad defense that they've had the last few years. Like, by few years, I mean, like, since they won the Super Bowl.
8 years?
Pretty much, yeah. So
the crazy thing to me is that they are kind of a renaissance of nearly a quarter century ago, if you can believe that when I say that they're only the second team since one of the 90s Cowboys teams to go 0-2 and then win their next 7 games.
Right, yeah. So it's pretty crazy.
And, of course, we know that Cowboys team won the Super Bowl. So the Saints are an interesting team that coming out of nowhere, at least to me, because I picked them. Did I pick them last in that division? I think I did. And when they started 0-2, I was looking like a genius. But now that they won 7 in a row,
I picked them last in that division too.
I should have flipped them in the Giants.
Flip
that. So
just a bit off on that one.
47-10. Wow. I mean, I definitely expected New Orleans to win that game, which even not knowing the outcome, I was on the fence on that one. But I was like, the Saints have just been playing better.
Yeah.
But I did not expect 47-10.
No.
Now, 2 disappointing teams. Well, see, it's funny how you look at things because entering the year, one of these teams would be a disappointment.
Yeah.
After a month or so of the season, now both of them are a
yeah.
disappointment because the Jets looked, decent. They went toe-to-toe with the Patriots. They were in line to win a few games. They won more games than I thought they would all year in the first 6 weeks. But now they have no offense, which is actually a problem for a few teams in the league this year. But today against a Tampa Bay team starting their cast-off quarterback because Jameis Winston is out possibly for the foreseeable future with a shoulder injury, the Jets scored just 10 points. Buccaneers got 15 with Fitzpatrick at quarterback. And Tampa Bay gets a much-needed win, snapping their losing streak. Tampa Bay moves to 3-6. The Jets drop to 4-6, entering their bye. And, well, they're going to need some help if they want to make the playoffs, which a lot of people thought was going to happen just 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, so I think the Jets are going to kind of get back to where they were. Then they are not going to be at the top of the draft like they teams thought they were going to be. I think they'll still win some games. I think it's almost funny because now you look at it, the Jets kind of ruined their ability to have one of the top picks in the draft. Buccaneers, though, man, what a disappointment.
Definitely disappointing.
And honestly, I know I've talked to you about this before. They fired Lovie Smith for the development of
Dirk Cutter.
Yeah.
With Jameis Winston, and Winston hasn't looked any better these 2 years.
And so they fired their head coach to promote the offensive coordinator because they were afraid of losing him, and it's not working out.
It's not working out at all.
And that is not the only city where that is the storyline. And the other one, the guy might get fired as early as tomorrow. So
yeah.
we'll get to that in one of the games.
That'll be our penultimate, or that'll be our final completed game discussion before we go to the Sunday night game and the Monday night preview. But, yeah, so Jets fall to the Buccaneers 15-10. Tampa Bay's got to pull a Saints and win 7 in a row if they want to salvage this season.
Yeah.
A team that Justin already mentioned is exceeding expectation. The Minnesota Vikings went toe-to-toe with the Redskins today. Washington coming off that victory at Seattle. Case Keenum leading the way.
Then also helped the Redskins get back in it with a couple picks, including a pick six. And
the Vikings defense got tested.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, with the pick six, that can't be put on the Vikings defense.
Kirk Cousins is about to get paid.
He is, but I
gotten paid.
That he is the next Ryan Fitzpatrick who's going to get a huge contract and then not live up to it.
Yeah, I'm not saying I think it's the greatest thing, but the Redskins are the ones to blame for this. The Redskins are the ones to blame.
Oh, yeah.
It's interesting. They said this all kind of started when, I guess, in maybe their rookie year, when RG3 had gotten hurt in a game. And
we're going back to, 2012?
Right, and he came in and he won a game.
Ooh.
He won a game for them, a big game, and got him into the playoffs or something. I forget exactly how it played out. And the owners came in, the owner and GM, and walked by him and went right to RG3 and started they didn't even acknowledge Kirk Cousins and went right to RG3 and we're telling him you're still the chosen one, you're still the one,
well,
it's
we
still
know
your
how
job.
that worked out.
Right. And so he's always kind of felt
they didn't respect
not
him.
necessarily even the coaches or his teammates, because he didn't feel it, because they said his teammates were upset and that the coaches, I think it might have been Shanahan at the time, went and said to the ownership, you can't do that. You're going to cause a mutiny in your locker room. We get, everyone understands that. Everyone understands RG3 is this high draft pick, that it's going to be his job again when we get it back. But, you can't handle it that way in front of everyone. That's just bad for the team. And they basically are yeah, we kind of do whatever we want.
So,
you see where that's got him. And now they're going to have to choose whether they're going to franchise him and pay him $35 million next year. They're not going to do.
No.
Or he's going to go somewhere else.
So, if you had to pick, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but you had to pick one team, where does Cousins go?
Ooh. You know where I think would be an interesting spot for him?
Let's see if it's on the same page.
I think the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Okay. No, we're not on the same page. I mean, that's interesting to me. I guess it depends on how the rest of the season goes.
Right. Watching today, I still just think they move on from Blake Bortles after this season.
I think I'm going to throw out one here.
They may try to draft a quarterback, though. I don't know.
Now, this, to me, an interesting one, I think, would be the Broncos. Now, I know they took Paxton Lynch just 2 years ago. He's not even entering his third year. He's been injured this year. But if Denver thinks they have a defense to compete and they're just a quarterback away,
And
with Elway in that role,
seeing this year, what
the quarterback position means, not that
Right.
Elway should really
and
need
I feel like
to tell them that.
it's more than, especially in the NFL where you don't have guaranteed contracts. Like you give it a rebuild in football can happen in a couple years. I know that sounds crazy, but between draft picks and free agents and just the non-guaranteed contracts, it's not like the NBA where you can pay a contract for 5 years after a guy's gone. Or
Right.
something like that. Here, you take that hit initially, but the next year you're pretty much clear of it. So, if you've got that in Denver, and you realize, man, how long can we keep this defense together? Let's make another run at it, especially if they don't do that great this year.
Right.
I
Now,
think that kind of
Washington
pushes it
has
a little
said
bit.
they're not franchising him, right? Like they're gonna, if they want to keep him, they want to sign him to
right,
long
but
term.
I don't if you're him. Now, I'm not saying he should. I'm not saying he shouldn't. I don't know.
It comes down to what's
it's
important
tough.
to him.
Right. Well, and it depends where's he going to go.
Well, that's what I was
Like,
going to propose.
Because if you're him, do you not go, all right, well, I'll play for you, and I'll even give you the discount of $30 million for the first year, because it's going to be $5 million less than what they would have to do if they want to franchise you. Because he holds the cards in Washington. They're not going to have a top draft pick. They could get a quarterback if they want, but who are they going to get?
Mm-hmm.
Who are they going to get, and who's going to want to go there? They'd have to try and sign somebody to a long-term deal,
Right.
Because nobody's going to go there on a short-term deal and be like, with the word of the ownership being like, oh yeah, we'll sign you to a long-term deal. Well, no, you had your guy and you didn't sign him. I don't know. It's a mess in Washington. It does come down to, if he thinks he can win in Washington, then
Maybe he sticks around.
Then maybe you're like, all right, I want $25 million a year or whatever.
Besides,
But you're not going to get a hometown discount. They've lost that opportunity, I feel like.
besides the Broncos, I think the Cardinals are a possibility.
That's
Who
another
knows what's going on
interesting
with Carson Palmer?
And with
Obviously,
Bruce Arians, that's an interesting one,
Right.
too, because the rumor was floated that he might be done.
Right.
and-
Then they could be looking to go a completely different direction.
Mm-hmm.
Cleveland, just because.
They'd have to pay me $40 million a year.
Right.
To be, and if they were like, we'll give you $40 million, and we'll fully guarantee the first 2 years. So you get $80 million. Now, Cleveland doesn't have that kind of, no
Yeah,
NFL
right.
team has that kind of money. But, what free agent quarterback is yep, that's where I want to go.
If Phillip Rivers would retire, the Chargers could be an option.
And the way the season's going, and after commuting to LA for a year, maybe that's kind of how he feels.
The Bills have never seemed sold on Tyrod Taylor. I think that could be an option. The Jets are always dysfunctional. That could be an option as well. But I think that about sums it up, except for another out-of-the-box one,
Okay.
is if Ben Roethlisberger retires.
Okay.
I could see the Steelers possibly being interested.
Yeah.
Was there another one you want to throw in there?
Well, when you're just saying outside the box, I know there's some talk that there's
the
some people are
Giants.
talking about Eli going
right.
to Jacksonville if that would open up in New York. But the thing is, if that happens, you're probably talking about a new coach and new thing. I don't know that they bring in a free agent quarterback, but
Yeah, I
maybe they
guess it
do,
depends.
because again, maybe they feel like the defense and the wide receivers are there now.
I think
you
the
know?
three most interesting ones would be Denver, Pittsburgh, and the Giants. I think those would be really
I think
intriguing.
the
ones.
Giants could be really interesting if they could get if they could draft a quarterback who's competent and put him
How
in there.
about
Because then all of a sudden you have the rookie deal for your quarterback. You can take some of that money to sign Odell, who's up not this year. Everybody's talking about it this year. He's up after next year.
See, I think Giants going after Cousins makes a lot of sense. Move on from Eli. Thank you, but yeah,
Right.
what have you done for me lately? Get Cousins younger, at this time more talented. Early draft pick, you got your quarterback. Now
Don't do it.
Now
Don't
what
do
you
it.
need?
Don't do it. I hate you.
So Saquon Barkley in New York with Kirk Cousins and those wide receivers, all of a sudden you go from a team that's probably going to finish 3-13 to a team
that's going to finish 2-14. Don't do
Barkley,
it, Saquon.
Cousins, Odell, Shepard. I'm just saying, I think it's interesting.
Why are you the way that you
That's
are?
the most talk we've ever had about Kirk Cousins before. So
Yeah.
all right, Bengals Titans. Tennessee gets the win, 24-20. We talked about how they're in
The
a foot
Bengals-
race with the Jags.
Bengals. Now, I've been I know how. Let me say, I feel like I know how this discussion is going to go. Vontez Burfict is an idiot, and he
Oh,
gets
my
in
gosh.
trouble a lot. He did not deserve to be ejected
No,
from
for,
this game.
for all the things he could be ejected for,
Right.
that's what he gets ejected for.
He basically didn't hit the running back out of bounds and gets a late hit. Essentially, that's what it came down to. He didn't hit him.
Mm-hmm.
And then the ref puts his arm on Burfict. He doesn't really push it away. He kind of just like walks through, kind of like almost
Yeah,
like
it
you're
was
going
silly.
through, but not like to get to anyone. Just kind of going through. And the guy, oh my gosh!
Guess
Like,
he's trying to atone for
of all
past
the things,
discrepancies
right.
that they didn't catch.
Of all the things, like when he tried to kill Antonio Brown, like
Yeah,
if
right.
you had been ejected for that, I can understand. But like, man, now that separate from the outcome of the game, they had a chance to do this, and Marcus Mariota leads them down the field for a touchdown.
Looks
I
good.
think it's third this year that
Yeah.
he's done that in the fourth quarter. So
Looking good for Tennessee.
yeah, it's not always pretty, but they were getting it done today.
That's why I'll be interested to see where they are at the end of the
It's
season
an
on
interesting
New Year's
game.
Eve.
Titans at Steelers. I have trouble with going with road teams on a Thursday. Short week, and
And
the Titans are banged up to begin with. But
yeah, I think it sounds like a Pittsburgh win.
oh, I absolutely agree. However, and this is going way back, and I know this means nothing, but Tennessee has given Pittsburgh fits at times, like going back way back to like the Steve McNair years. Like it's just because I remember when I was in college, there was this and actually it goes back to maybe old division alignment. Now that I think about it, but the Oilers, Steelers and the Titans Steelers used to kind of be some big matchups when I was out there. So I'm kind of hoping that it at least it's a good game, but we'll see. Yeah, I don't really see Titans going to Pittsburgh on a Thursday and getting away with a win.
The Jaguars and Titans were helped by the Rams today, who demolished the Texans
slow start.
33-7. I believe it's their fourth victory of 25 or more points
Yeah, Jared Goff
this
and
year.
that offense look awesome.
They had done that many in the last 12 years combined or
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah.
So these Rams are for real. They look really, really good.
So I
And,
think the Eagles play
right
them
now-
week 14 or 15. I think the Eagles play at LA,
Right now, they're the 4 seed in the
Yeah.
NFC playoffs.
which is crazy.
Yeah, it is.
Like,
It
there's-
is crazy.
3 2-loss teams, and one 1-loss team as the division leaders in the NFC.
Yeah, it's. I'm glad that they're not doubling up in a division, and those are actually all division leaders. Because
Yeah.
I hate to see a team like that drop to the 5 spot.
Right.
But yeah, so the Rams are on a roll. A little bit coming out of nowhere. A lot of people comparing them to the '99 greatest show on turf with Kurt Warner, Isaac Bruce,
Don't get me
Marshall
wrong.
Faulk.
I mean, I think it'll be good, and they'll get it because, LA, every city loves winners. But you see the game today. There's so many people not there, And I know it's not like a huge marquee game, but I know it's a massive stadium, but no one's there.
Yeah, it's that's depressing.
And it is miles better than what the Chargers get at home,
right.
So,
The Rams' 2 losses are to the Redskins in Week 2 and to the Seahawks in Week 5. Both of them were at home.
yeah.
So that's a little bit depressing for them. The biggest problem is that the Rams have to play Seattle one more time and also could see them in the first round of the playoffs, depending on how things shake out.
Right.
They also don't have an easy schedule.
No.
We'll see how good the Rams are the next 2 weeks, as they have to go to Minnesota and then host the Saints.
Right.
Then they get a little bit of a must-win situation because who knows what will happen those 2 weeks. In Week 13, they have the Cardinals before hosting the Eagles, in which will be a road game in Los Angeles.
Yeah, I hope so.
I mean, it definitely will be. As we saw what the Eagles were able to do when they played the Chargers, I don't expect much different when they play the Rams. And then LA has to go to Seattle, go to Tennessee before hosting San Francisco. So there's an opportunity for the Rams to lose, I'd say, 4 or 5 games in the back
It's an
half.
opportunity, but honestly, the way they're playing, I think it's not unrealistic for them to think that the loss total from that stretch would be 2 or 3 games.
Right, and they're 7-2. So if
Right.
they go 10-6, or 11,
like the way they're playing right now, it wouldn't surprise me if they beat Seattle the second time they play them. It wouldn't surprise me, if they. It would surprise me if they beat Minnesota. Like I know Minnesota gave up a bunch of points to the Redskins today, but I don't know. The Rams are putting it together. That's a team that scares me.
The loss to the Seahawks scares me a little bit, just because they're an above-average team.
Right, and Seattle's sitting 1 game behind them, but if they beat them again, would have the tiebreaker.
Right, so that one scares me. And I'd much rather see the Rams than the Seahawks, so that's a little bit of my own personal bias there. Dallas goes to Atlanta, scores first, and then doesn't do anything the rest of the game. Atlanta turns it on. Falcons score, I think, 27 unanswered.
Yeah.
27-7, Atlanta wins.
7-0.
That was a definite must-win for the Falcons, who get to 5-4.
I don't understand this game. It surprised me.
And now they hold the tiebreaker with Dallas.
I told you, it surprises me that, not that the Falcons won. I didn't pick them to win, but it surprised me. So it surprised me a little bit that they won. But what really surprised me is that the Cowboys put up 7 points. How's that happen? This team just rolled through Kansas City last week. I know that it was close at times, but that was really because a mishap on a play before halftime, right? And then Kansas City got some momentum, but they just rolled. They did offensively. They were able to move the ball and score, not at will, but put up some points against Kansas City, and then they put up 7. And I know they didn't have Ezekiel Elliott, but the bigger factor was not having Tyron Smith. Left tackle.
Right, we said...
so if he could be out 1 more week, that would be fantastic.
Adrian Claiborne has 6 sacks. One man had 6
1
sacks.
short of the record.
Which is just absolutely absurd. He's a former, I think actually early second-round pick. He was considered a top 5 pick, and then injury history forced him to slide. The Buccaneers took him. He didn't do much there, but he's making a living now in Atlanta.
Yeah.
And, this was a bad one for the Cowboys because you lose that conference game. You're now the last place team of the group that's 5-4. So they're actually the 10th best team in the NFC.
Because they've also lost to Green Bay.
Right, they lost to Green Bay, and they lost to Atlanta. So they need help now to get into the playoffs, and they've got to play, as you have alluded to. They have the Eagles coming to town next week.
Yeah, so it's a big game because, and I can tell you right now who I'm going to pick, but.
You're picking Dallas.
Right. Well, and the Cowboys need the game more. I know it's big for the Eagles.
But Philly's coming off a bye.
I know.
This ain't your Andy Reid Eagles, though.
Right, I know.
For better or worse.
But I would love to see, if the Eagles win, that would put them 4 games up on the Cowboys with 6 to play. And a guaranteed split with the Cowboys, So, that would be a really good spot to be for the Eagles. Whereas the Cowboys, like you said, they're the last place of the teams that are in that group of the next out. So they need to win, because they already need to make up 3 games on the Eagles for the division. So it'll be interesting to see. I believe it's in Dallas next week.
It is in Dallas next week. I was just checking if it was prime time or not.
I think it is. I
Is
feel
it
like
Sunday
it's
night?
a Sunday night game, but I don't know.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. So.
Philadelphia at Dallas, November 19th, 8:30 on NBC. So, we're doing Bulldog Hour next week. The Eagles and Cowboys will be playing for the first time this year. Congratulations are in order for the San Francisco 49ers for winning their first game of the year and screwing their draft position by beating a team that now...
That's right, they got their quarterback, though. So
when they lose next week, the 49ers will go from possibly getting the number 1 pick to getting the number 3 pick. So, 49ers win 31-21, 14 fourth-quarter points. Giants looked hapless as always.
Man,
McAdoo
may get fired tomorrow.
Yeah, he was very.
And this is the other situation. The Giants, they didn't fire Tom Coughlin, but they kind of pushed him out the door.
Pretty much
because they wanted Ben McAdoo. Ben McAdoo turned down the Eagles job.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for this Giants job, and he's about to get fired for it. And probably get Eli run out of town, too.
Yep.
So, good job.
Not a great...
It didn't go as planned.
Yeah. This is not going as I foreseen.
Speaking of going as planned, the Sunday night game
Yeah.
is going exactly how I think
Everyone
probably saw this one
expected.
coming.
New England is up 17-6. It is
These aren't your Peyton's Broncos.
no, it is not. They're only we're in the early second quarter.
Right.
At 17-6. New England.
So the Patriots may have scored on every possession they've had.
Possible. And I expect more of the same. I expect this to be something like 37-12.
When
wake up
when did I
tomorrow.
know this wouldn't be a game? When the Eagles put up 51 points on the Broncos last week, and
Right.
the stadium ran out of fireworks. They sent
Yes.
out an apology. For
They
that.
did. So the Patriots are on their way to being 7-2, which would tie them with Pittsburgh in the AFC. And that's pretty much right where we expected both of them to be.
Right.
Honestly, and Kansas
Do
City
they play?
too.
Do Pittsburgh and New England play yet?
Yeah, they do.
Okay. 'Cause
Let me pull up here.
that could be a huge
Yeah.
game.
Yeah. Where's the home field going to be in the AFC?
Right.
That's what it comes down to.
Because they may end up playing 2 more times.
Although
like we
if
just
Jacksonville runs the table, it might be in Jacksonville. I mean, the other teams would have to lose, but remember, Jacksonville has the tiebreaker with Pittsburgh.
said. Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Let's see.
right there.
Week
Yeah,
15.
December
Awesome.
17th. Awesome.
That day's okay.
That Stars will just come out. The next day's the best day of the year. I'll be excited for that game. Why is that not the Sunday night game?
It will be. I bet they don't have one.
Oh, you're
Right.
right. That'll probably be flex. Hopefully, New England's coming off a loss. Like, all of this just looks at really, really good.
Yeah.
Really good setup for that. Before we do the Monday night game, my uncle wants to know if the 49ers should have played Garoppolo. Should they be playing
I think
him?
they have their bye next week.
Yes, they do.
Yes, I think they have their bye. I think he starts the week after that.
So Bethard is done then?
Yeah, which is, hard to say. He led him to a win. Like,
Right.
he hasn't been the problem, but I don't know that he's the solution.
Well,
And
I guess at this point,
here's the problem, though. They have to find out if Garoppolo is the guy.
They do, but, like, you're going to give him next year anyways, right?
But his contract's up.
Oh, is it?
His contract's up. He's
Oh,
a
well,
free
then,
agent.
yeah, okay, then
Right, he's a
need
free
to
agent.
know.
They
Yeah,
got
figure
6
it out.
games to
So
figure
yeah,
out whether it's
absolutely,
him.
yeah.
Right.
So the 49ers
No,
have
yeah,
a
if
bye.
they had him for next
I thought
year.
they had another year.
No, yeah, then I try and figure out on Bethard, like, is he our backup? But no, yeah, he's a free agent. They have to figure out whether whether or not they're going to assign him to the deal.
All right.
So,
Well, then yes, absolutely. I believe. Should Garoppolo play today? No, not necessarily, and it ended up not really mattering because Bethard
right, if
got
it
him
was
a win.
a team where like they were borderline and they need every win to get to into the playoffs, then I feel like they would. But on the other hand, like I think the team, if they felt like they had anywhere close to as good of a chance as winning with the Garoppolo, they would have done that this week. But I think with the bye coming up, I think 2 weeks from now we will see Garoppolo.
So week 12, we should see the Jimmy Garoppolo debut for the 49ers.
I fully expect this to be like the Matt Castle treatment. Like he's going to light it up and get a good deal, and then
not be anything.
we'll see. That might be unfair because I don't know that he won't be anything, but I think he's going to take advantage of this, as most Patriots backups do. He's going to turn
Right.
this into a pretty good gig.
And then they end up in New England a few years down the road.
Right.
All right, so the Monday night game, Miami 4-4 goes to the Panthers 6-3. This is very important for both teams because Miami, if they want to stay in the AFC wildcard race, they need to win this game to even themselves with Buffalo and be a game back of whoever doesn't win the AFC South. Carolina, on the other hand, they need a win here to launch them into 5th place by half a game over the Seahawks and attempt to maintain pace with the Saints, who they'd be a half game behind. Carolina will have the bye next week. So a big game for both teams. And just because I'm a huge cynic, I don't expect the Dolphins to do anything at all against
they had
Carolina.
a big game a couple weeks ago, and we're like, this is the one they got, and they didn't show up at all. So
Well, they got destroyed by the Ravens. That's
Right.
probably the one we're talking about. And I called that because they
I know.
played terribly against Baltimore. But Miami needs to win this game to have any chance of making the playoffs because I think I believe we talked about this in the preseason, that the Dolphins' schedule gets harder in the second half of the year. And right now, if they would lose to the Panthers, they'd be at 4-5. Now, we talked about this earlier in the year, so maybe, some of the teams they're playing aren't any good. But Tampa Bay,
So-
that's a push.
Yeah,
You got to
but
win
you
that
mu-
game.
It has to be a must. So if they lose this one and go to
4
5
and 5,
losses,
yeah.
that means you really
You could lose,
only
like,
can
maybe
afford
one more.
right. And I'd say maybe 2, but probably only 1 more. So Tampa, you have to win it. Oh, but then you go to New England, and then you have Denver, which you would have to win. Then you host New England.
Miami
like-
wins one of the New England games. I'll call it right now.
Well, they have to because they're probably going to lose one, and if they lose tomorrow, that's the only other one they can lose.
And then they go to Buffalo,
Go to Kansas City. and
go to
then
Kansas
host
City, and then
Buffalo.
host Buffalo.
Yeah, so
They need to win the Buffalo
They have to win
games.
tomorrow. Like let's short term. They must win tomorrow.
They have to beat Carolina and Tampa Bay.
Yeah, I think the Dolphins are in trouble.
Well, I said when the year started that I thought they were a 7-9 win team.
I know, but it's a shame because. Oh, never mind. I'll tell you after show. We're gonna troll.
troll. So, yeah, Miami, third straight primetime game. I'm sure I'll see less than a minute of it like the other games that they played the last 3 weeks.
Yeah, the
I
latest
didn't
of the
even, the
primetime
only
games.
part of the Dolphins-Ravens game I saw 2 weeks ago on Thursday night was when Alonso decked Joe Flacco.
Yeah.
Because I remember I texted you, I was like, Flacco just got whammied.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah,
And I didn't watch any of their loss to the Raiders last week. That was the Sunday night game, and the Monday night Dolphins-Panthers. So, yeah.
fun just never ends.
Oh,
I
it
guess.
never ends. So, but I think the fun is about to end for our show because I think we're all out of games to talk about.
We are. So
that was week 10. We will be back in 2 weeks, I think, which would be that made the Sunday of Thanksgiving, Sunday after Thanksgiving. Well, that's crazy to think about. Never
Yeah.
be past Thanksgiving the next time we do this show.
yeah.
So we'll
that
be
kind of makes me sick in my stomach a little bit.
no, bring it on.
I know.
Halloween to the Super Bowl is the best time of year, and specifically
No.
Thanksgiving through New
July.
Year's is the best
July
time. No,
is the
July.
best time of
Get
the
out of
year.
here with July. Nothing happened in July.
Best sports month for sure.
God, there's nothing. It's baseball. That's it. There's nothing else going on. And you got the All-Star break in there, too. So literally, there was like a 3-day period where there is nothing happening.
The ESPY's your favorite.
Yeah, brother. All right.
Now I couldn't hold back. Some of
No.
the trolling I was able to bite my tongue enough till after the show, and some I just couldn't do it.
Right, so, well. So, thanks for watching tonight. We will be back again in 2 weeks, recapping Week 12 of the NFL. You have any shout-outs or anything to mention?
No.
No. I will say a happy birthday to my cousin's daughter, Dulcie. Turned 10 today, double digits. Big time, and they were
That's
celebrating
crazy.
in New York City over the weekend. Yeah, that is crazy. She was born while I lived in Indiana. I remember it pretty vividly. I remember talking about when she was born, and to think that happened 10 years ago is a little crazy.
Yeah,
So-
that's crazy that you were living in Indiana 10 years ago.
Yes, that is also crazy.
Oh man.
We talked about it a little bit on the Bulldog Hour, going back in time
Yeah.
over the streak. So, yep, good times by all. So, so that's it from us. Thanks for watching episode 247 of the Joe Mays and J-Raff Show. Let's see if Justin can do this from memory.
Oh, we hope you tune in every Sunday for our take on sports. Until next time, I'm J-Raff.
And I'm Joe Mays. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening to the Joe Mays and J-Raff Show. Tune in every Sunday for the latest sports discussions from Joe and Justin. Each episode is available live
On Facebook Live.
and can be downloaded or streamed on iTunes and SoundCloud. You can interact with Joe and Justin on Facebook and Twitter, and stay up to date with the guys at joemaysandjraff.com. The Joe Mays and J-Raff Show is part of the JMNJR Radio Network. For more info, visit jmnjrradio.com.